Okay, I think we should be good for today. I got 13 gigs to film.
I don't remember how many we are in here anymore.
24?
Are we 24 or 25? Or
I thought we were 24.
24? Then we're missing one.
Oh,
Okay, good morning.
maybe.
Let's see, a few things to chat about today. Somebody else. Sit with them. Okay, may I please? We have a few things to chat about today. First of all, 3 weeks from tomorrow, final exams begin.
Oh, joy. 'Tis the season to be jolly.
We are testing on
Na 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 na.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
'Cause
So,
you can't get enough of
kind
it.
of remind you where you are. Yesterday it kind of hit me. I said, holy cow, home stretch time. So I just sent the first exam review to the print shop about 5 minutes ago. Then I'll work on the second review. And
Every
I'm working
word
on
he
the
says
exam
brings
and
me
things like
closer to
that.
tears.
What? Stress? Is that what you said? Yep. Well, that's the whole idea. Our goal is to stress you out as much as possible. And remember what we said about exams, though, earlier. They're 20% of your grade.
Exams?
They're
Not
not
to eat during exams.
50%.
Is that what you just asked? Or were
No,
you
no,
about to eat
well,
during
can I
exams?
finish?
I don't think so.
Oh, that's depressing.
Exams are 20% of your grade. They're not 50% of your grade, like they will be in 2 or 3 or 4 years.
What?
When you go to college,
okay.
your exams are going to be 50% of your grade, somewhere thereabouts. So, as you start to prepare for exams, if what you have been doing in the past has been working, then continue with it. If it hasn't, figure something else out. But make sure that you do this. Make sure you study. Don't just say, well, I feel like I know it pretty well. I'll go through the reviews that he gives us and that should be enough. It's not going to be. Not if you want to do a good job. So, we're 3 weeks away, so I wouldn't stress out yet. But when you get to be a week or so away,
Stress.
no. But put, prioritize. Maybe Instagram isn't quite as important for 1 week. I know, sacrilege, I understand. But, I always used to say, well, don't talk to your friends on the phone as much, so I've, changed it. But I mean, it's, for a week. Realize what's important, because for you guys, clearly your academics are important. That's how you got here. And we'll talk a lot more about exams as we get closer, but just start to think, what are my plans for exams? And we'll talk about different studying techniques and stuff like that. And I've got something that I'll probably talk to you about probably before the end of this week about it. And you guys can figure some things out. But just kind of remember that they're over the horizon and start to get at least mentally a plan for what you're going to do over the next 3 weeks. Okay? That's number 1. Number 2, if you have tests that you have not taken, tests or quizzes, including stuff from like Chapter 1, which I still have some in there. Chapter 0, I think I still have a quiz for Chapter 0 in there that somebody has not taken. Next Friday, December 7th, is the deadline for that, so make sure you get that set. The following Friday, December 14th, is the deadline for the letter, if you are going to write one. Okay? Talked about that last week, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, that's the 14th. You have 3 weeks, basically, until that. So, but I will keep reminding you so that, because both of those will be drop-dead dates. oh, I was sick that day, I'm sorry I didn't turn in the letter, can I turn it in on Monday? Answer's gonna be no. So I'm giving you plenty of advance warning. I didn't take that test for chapter 4. I was gonna take it on that last day, the Friday the 7th, but we had a field trip or something like that. Sorry, tough noogies. Okay, so just make sure that you do what you gotta do between now and then. All right? I don't know what we're at yet. We have a test coming up on Wednesday. That would be like the day after tomorrow. Sweet. But I'll make it easier for you because I'll make it a partner test.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yep. Which means that tomorrow you must give me your formula sheet. So, reminder that if you want a formula sheet to take home to study with tomorrow night, make sure you copy your formula sheet. Don't come to me, hand it in at the end of class tomorrow and say, can you make a copy of this for me? No, that's not going to happen. Yeah, basically. So, do what you got to do. I'm sure we'll talk about the formula sheet as the class goes on today too, but just kind of giving you a reminder. Formula sheet tomorrow, test on Wednesday. With that in mind, is there anybody here that knows or thinks that they will not or might not be in class on Wednesday? No, we all look good? Okay. Because as I do the partners, kind of stinks if then somebody's not here.
Oh my.
I didn't even think about that, and now I'm really stressed.
Well, I make adjustments then. You're not stuck by yourself.
My partner is one partner.
But
We should have you as
I don't care. It's fine. Whatever you want, that's fine. Just make sure that it's formulas and not examples. That's all. Not right now. Yes, sir.
Do I have a homework check tomorrow?
No homework check for this chapter. The reason for that, I understand, but if you remember correctly, at the beginning of this chapter, I said to you that we're going to do parabolas. We're going to spend 2 days on parabolas, and when we finish parabolas, you're going to say, oh, I get that, that's not too bad. And then the same thing's going to happen with ellipses, and the same thing's going to happen with hyperbolas. Okay? And then you're going to get done with all of them, you're going to go, this chapter wasn't bad at all. And then we're going to put them all together, and you're going to freak out. Okay? Tomorrow is that day. Right? Because tomorrow I'm going to start going, okay, so here's the formula, here's the equation of an ellipse. Tell me the foci, tell me the length of the major axis. Well, right now you guys going, major axis, oh my God, that's right, I got to remember that. You know what I mean? So it's all of those things, and so tomorrow I want to have as long as we can. And I don't want to waste 15, 20 minutes doing a homework check because homework checks for some reason take us 15, 20, 25 minutes. I don't want to waste that time when we could be going over the stuff. So that's why that decision was made the way it is. Okay? Sorry.
On our formula sheet, are we allowed to draw a diagram of a sample ellipse?
No.
Okay.
No, just formulas.
It can only be the front side of the paper, right?
I don't care. Oh, glad you brought that up. Kind of sends it up. But on Wednesday, and you guys probably today will ask me a lot of questions about the formula sheet. Here's the reality. If your plan, if your thought, or if what happens is you end up spending most of the time during the test looking at the formula sheet, there will be big trouble, big problems. Because the biggest issue, and we've talked about this when we did the group test a couple of months ago, we said the biggest issue with group tests or partner tests, anybody remember the biggest issue? Time. And so if you're saying, okay, I don't really remember how to do this problem, but I can figure it out from my formula sheet, that's not going to go well. Okay, this is just advice, so do whatever you want to do. In my opinion, I would suggest studying the same way you would for any other test. do problems, do problems, do problems, do problems. But if and there will be people that say, well, I have a formula sheet, so I don't really need to study. That would be a really bad decision, okay? And I've seen it again and again and again. So to me, the formula sheet, it will probably, for the people who are successful, the formula sheet will be like a little cheat sheet, where every once in a while you got to take a look at it. It's like, wait, what was that again? Oh yeah, okay. But not all right, I don't know how to do this problem. Let me look at this. That's not going to go well. See where I'm coming from there?
How long is the test?
Test is a normal test. This is not going to be like the group test where I gave you 3 questions. This is a normal test. It'll be 10 to 15 questions, no skips, because you have a partner. So that should take care of that. But yeah, it's a normal test. And so knowing how you have to pace yourself on the regular tests, think about, with a partner test and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not going to be much shorter or anything like that.
Can you get like the 15 out of 10, or is it just?
No, this is a normal test. Group test, that was something special. And I think when we do group tests again, I probably won't do the 15 out of 10 then either. That was kind of a first time deal where I don't really know what's going to happen here, so let me build in a buffer. So I kind of did that, but has nothing to do with Wednesday. This is a regular test. This is your Chapter 11 test. Just like you had a Chapter 5 test and a Chapter 3 test and a Chapter 1 test. This is the same thing. It just so happens that it's going to be in partners. There are a couple of reasons for partners. One, I continue to like people collaborating. I think that's a good thing to learn how to do. Number 2, there's so much information that, keeping it all separate in one mind is a little bit more difficult. So that's why I did it on this one. But don't treat it any differently. Okay? Do your studying, do your problems, and it's more the straightforward type of thing rather than like the group test was. I kind of took some questions and went out there a little bit with it. It's not going to be like that. It'll be straightforward. Okay? Any other questions on that? I think I got through everything. If I forgot something, we'll get it as we go on. Homework. 21. Knew it was coming. Now you want to stay by yourself? My mind is
Sometimes I put it on the wrong way because the big thing is it's big. If you're just glancing at it upside down, you just need to it's the right way.
Yep, I got you. All right, 21 says center is 0, 0. Transverse is the x-axis. What does that mean?
The major axis.
It's similar to what would be a major axis in an ellipse. What does that mean for us? How does that help us? It tells us which direction. So in this case, if it says the transverse is the x-axis, it's telling us it's horizontal. Does that give us enough to start to write?
Yeah.
Go. Why is it just x squared?
Center 0, 0.
Oh yeah.
Oh, center 0, 0. Got it. Okay. So x squared over something
Minus. Over something
equals 1. Okay, why did we go with x squared first? Because it's horizontal. In an ellipse, would we... Forget it. That's just going to confuse us right now. We'll worry about that tomorrow.
Yeah.
How do we figure this stuff out? The asymptotes, they tell us the asymptotes, y equals x and y equals negative x. What do we take out of that?
I mean, the slope.
The slope. The slope. What are the slopes of the asymptotes?
1 and negative 1.
Plus or minus 1. M is plus or minus 1. Are we okay with that? All right. How's that help us?
Can we put that under?
Should
Wouldn't that be
erase everything too. Say it again.
Denominator of y.
The slopes of the asymptotes are either a over b or b over a, right? But it's always
Y, denominator of Y.
y over x.
Is-
Yeah. Since the slopes are 1, can we write that as a fraction? Because we like slope as a fraction, right? We could write it as 1 over 1. Do we have to write it as 1 over 1? Can we write it as 5 over 5?
Yes.
53 over 53,
Yeah.
etc. Okay. 17 over 17.
Yep. I like that one.
What's A? If A is 1, what's B? 1. The only important thing here is that A and B are equal. They have to be the same. If A and B are the same, then the slopes of the asymptotes are plus or minus 1. Okay? So, I don't care what you make A, as long as you make B the same thing. Does that make sense? Yes, sir? I know, I'm the back of the book. You're gonna okay, I'm going to get to that in just a second. So, what do you want to make A?
1.
1? Where does that go?
The x.
Why does it go under the X? Because in a hyperbola, A always goes under
X.
the first one.
Oh.
A always goes first in a hyperbola. So if you're going to put 1 there, is that okay? As long as put 1 there also. Could I put 17 there?
Yeah.
As long as
You put 17
put
there.
17 there. So in this case, there are many options for your answers. I will check your answer and make sure. But anytime they give us the asymptotes, there are going to be options. Now, back of the book, I believe, basically says that this is a squared, and they multiply both sides by a squared, so they get x squared minus y squared equals a squared. Is that right? Which is fine. I'm perfectly content with this. Okay, so don't stress about where's the a squared coming from and stuff like that. I don't really care. All right, you want to go 1 and 1, you want to go 6 and 6, you want to go 17 and 17, that's all fine. Okay? Does that answer your question? Next. I knew it was coming. I'm bored doing the same problem twice in a row. No, I'm not bored you doing the same problem twice in a row. Talk to me. Yep. Okay, so I mean, we're reading. It's vertical. It's vertical. Tell me what to write.
Y squared over something minus x squared over something.
Okay.
We know the slopes.
We know the slopes of the asymptotes. What are the slopes of the asymptotes?
Plus or minus.
Plus or minus 2. Okay. Which means what? Okay, so A is
Plus or minus 2 over 1.
2?
Hold on, no.
Is that okay? Could they be anything else? What could they be?
4, 2.
4 and 2. 6 and 3. 10 and 5. 2,000 and 1,000. As long as A divided by B is equal to
M.
2. Capiche? Okay. So, what goes where?
4 goes under y squared. 2 goes under y squared. 4.
I don't like 2.
4.
I like 4. Because remember, what are the denominators?
A
A
squared.
Squared and b squared, so make sure you square them both. So this is
4.
4 and this is
1.
1. By the way, I wrote A and B. I wrote A is 2 and B is 1. How did I know that A was 2 and B was 1? Couldn't it have been the other way around?
No, because
It's always y over x. So I kind of instinctively wrote A equals 2, not because I knew that A was 2. So be careful with that. Make sure that the denominator of y over the denominator of x gets you 2. There. Does that make sense? No. Whichever term comes first. If we're given the slopes of the asymptotes, the numerator is going to go to y and the denominator is going to go to x. Does that make any sense? The numerator is going to go to y and the denominator is going to go to x. So m is 2, so that could be 2 over 1 or 4 over 2 or 10 over 5 or something like that. These will go to y and these would go to x. Because it's the slopes of the asymptotes, and the slopes of the asymptotes are always y over x. Okay? So I kind of lucked out here, to be honest with you, that I said that that was A. If this had been horizontal instead of vertical, then this actually would have been B, and this would have been A, which is why I don't want to think about it that way. Y denom is 2, x denom is 1. That's better put squared, obviously. Okay? Ready? Let's move on.
Are you kidding me right now?
You will be asked some questions test time that say something like, put this in standard form for whatever conic section it is, and then graph it. So what's the first step and what had you better get right? What is it? If you mess this up, if you say that that's a parabola, it's not going to go well on that problem. You know what I'm saying? That's why the very first thing we did in this chapter was the identifying thing. What is this?
Hyperbola.
Yep.
Somebody's flying back to their notes, which is understandable.
Hyperbola.
This is exactly why I'm waiting, because I want people to take a look at it. And some people come up with the right thing, some people not the right thing, and then you hear reasons fired out, and then some people go, ooh, good point. And that's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So have we made a final decision on this?
Hyperbola.
What is it? Hyperbola. Why is it a hyperbola?
2 square terms, different signs.
2 squared terms,
Different sign.
Different signs. Hyperbola. Coefficients are irrelevant once it becomes a hyperbola. Because in a hyperbola, they may end up being the same coefficient. Okay, that's okay. Like that, like this one. Right? These two would have the same coefficient, but they're different signs. So anyway, this is a hyperbola. So we want to get it into hyperbola form. What do we need to do to get started to get it into hyperbola form? Complete the square, clear the constant. Okay, so how many times are we going to complete the square here?
Twice.
It's hard for me to distinguish between once and twice. I'm not sure what people said. How many?
Twice.
2. I agree. So step 1 okay there?
Yeah.
All right, what's step 2? What's the next thing we have to deal with? I don't like that 4. You like that 4? What can we do? Factor. Tell me what to write.
-4.
Plus 4.
Leave our gap. What about here? Okay, we're okay here? Okay. So step 1 was clear the constant. Step 2 was make sure that x squared and y squared do not have a coefficient right in front of them. Okay, now what do I write?
Half.
What do I write?
Plus 2.
Plus 2.
Plus 4.
Plus 4.
Minus 16.
Minus 16. Huh?
Yep.
Okay. As people are starting to do problems, and I'm seeing this, I saw this in both classes earlier today, I'm starting to see people kind of get a little weaselly with the completing the square thing. I'm seeing people not write that number there. Okay? And they're going, well, I know, I don't need to write it. Write the flippin' number. Okay? Because pretty much every person who made a mistake in the problems that we're going to do in a minute or two, almost every person that made a mistake didn't write the number there. And that caused them problems over here. Okay? They went, oh, well, I know what it is. But then you're messing this up, so you don't know what it is. Please write it down. Take the extra, how long did that take to write down plus 4? A second? Okay? Take the extra second. Stop trying to shortcut things that cause -2s and -3s on tests and things like that. Okay? Good there?
Yes.
Here. Tell me what to write.
Minus 1. Plus 1. Plus 1. Plus 1.
Okie dokie. Left side.
X plus 4.
Uh-oh.
-4.
-4. You cannot lose that -4. I promise you, it will get bad if you lose that -4. X plus 2 squared plus
4.
Divide the 4 now. Don't. Too many people look at this and go, I got to do something with that. No. Do this first, and then we'll see where we stand. So divide the 4. Now what?
Doesn't it cancel out?
So tell me what to write.
X plus 2 squared divided by negative x plus 2 squared.
Do we need a negative?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the 4's cancel, but the negative stays there. So negative x plus 2 squared plus y minus 1 squared
Over 4
over 4
equals 1.
saying you don't like that minus that's there right now?
Just flip them.
Be careful about bringing it down, because if you bring it down, you're going to think you're done. And the problem is, what is this?
A plus.
That's an ellipse, right? When we see that plus there, that's an ellipse. So what do we do instead? Flip them. So what do I write?
Y minus 1 squared over 4 minus
Minus
x plus 2 squared equals 1.
x plus 2 squared. You see how it just now works itself out, right? So my first instinct was exactly the same. Let's just throw the bottom as a -1. We're good. But if you leave it there, and now we flip it, and now all of a sudden, we're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Equals.
1.
So can I put a denominator here now?
Yeah.
What?
1.
Yeah, there you go. We okay there? Center.
-2, 1.
Say it again.
-2, 1.
-2, 1. What's A?
2.
2. What's B?
1.
1. Here is a question that was not in the original question. No, it's 1. A and B will always be positive. Here's a question that was not asked in the original question. I'm going to throw it out for you guys to think about and to work on in your groups. What are the coordinates of the foci? Go. What are the coordinates of the foci? Yes?
I forgot how to do all of this over the weekend. Well, the foci are a certain distance from the...
Aren't they like,
I just don't want
they're either each 4 away or each 2 away?
No.
No, they're both 2 away,
It's
right?
a squared plus b squared equals 1.
I understand.
That's that.
Let's define the c. Let's define c. So we
Okay.
have a squared, which is 4,
Square root of 5.
and we have b squared, which is 1, so it's 5. Yeah, but what are the coordinates? You can't just do, it's 5. No, but you were talking about... Does it mean it's 5? Whatever the thing is, 5, it's that many spaces from the thing. Yes, that word.
Mm.